strong dancer friends, and welcome to my kitchen. This is important. Today we are talking all about energy, where it comes from, what it does, how we use it. This is a great conversation to have as a dancer, as an athlete, as a human who often, every day needs energy to survive and exist. So when we're talking about energy, we are often addressing units of energy known as calories. Now, like I said, a calorie is simply just a unit of energy. It's nothing to fear. It's nothing to worry about. It is not a little goblin that lives in your closet sewing your clothes together so that they're tighter in the morning. No. A calorie is simply, if we're getting scientific, the amount of energy that it requires to raise the temperature of water by 1 degree. So if we're getting super scientific, an actual calorie will then be multiplied by 1,000 calories to make a kilocalorie, and kilocalories are actually what we refer to when we're talking about nutrition labels. So when you see on a serving size on a nutrition label it says calories per serving, it's actually referencing kilocalories. I know this is all very confusing. This is not information that you need to know unless you're ever going to be on like Jeopardy. But yes, so you might see if you're traveling, at the back of a nutrition label might say kilocalorie or kcal. A Hershey's bar in the United States is usually 250 calories. A Hershey bar in France might be 250 kilocalories. It's the same, they're interchangeable. I don't know why we do this to ourselves. It just makes it very confusing, but it doesn't need to be. Just remember, calorie is a calorie. It's just a unit of energy. Now we get to talk about energy balance. What does that mean? We talk about energy in, energy out. This is what it means to be a human, to exist, especially as a dancer, as an athlete. We really need to be aware of our energy balance and finding, you remember from 9th grade biology, homeostasis, that nice, comfortable balance that our body naturally wants to set at. So when we talk about energy in, this is the energy that we're consuming. All food has units of energy. We're going to talk about that in a minute, that they're not all created equal, but again, more on that in a second. So energy in, if we are taking in just enough energy to meet the level of energy that we are expending each day, this is great. This is flatline. This is nothing changing. So if you are interested in maintaining your physique, if you're just interested in fueling yourself appropriately, moderately, every single day, you want to make sure that the energy that you're taking in matches the energy that you're sending out. Now, if you are putting on body mass, either in the form of muscle or adding body fat to your frame, you will be in an energy surplus. This means you are bringing in more energy than you are sending out, so that energy is getting stored within your body. Now, we hear this, I think diet culture, all these things have taught us to fear storing energy, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, especially for women. Having a certain amount of body fat on your body is very important. In addition to having an energy surplus at certain times, to add muscle to your frame, which will then stoke your metabolism, give you nice, shapely, toned muscles, and feel more energetic, support your joints and bones and ligaments. Having muscle on your frame is a good thing. There are many times when it is appropriate to be in an energy surplus. So we do not want to be scared of being in a surplus. And then, of course, we talk about the energy deficit. So this means you are taking in less energy than you are expending. If you have been in a surplus, if you have excess stored energy, you might want to be in an energy deficit and simply take in fewer calories than you do expend. And this is then so that your body will take that stored energy, convert it into energy since it's right there and we're not taking it from an outside source and putting it out in the world. This is how we reduce body fat. It's really that simple. Finding that balance for you and your goals is my job. So I mentioned that not all energy is created the same. What does that mean? Here is what I'm talking about. All energy breaks down into macro or micro. So micro is talking about micronutrients. These are things like vitamins, minerals. These things actually do not contain energy. They contain trace amounts of energy, but these are the things that make us feel very good. We want plenty of micronutrients, but actual energy, the stuff that helps us dance and perform and lift weights and build muscle, this comes from macronutrients, and there are 3 types of macronutrients. You've got your fats, your proteins, and your carbs. So when I say that not all energy is created equal, this is what I mean. Per single gram of fats, you are going to consume 9 calories. 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. This is a very dense form of energy. So when we're looking at things like cheeses, nuts, oils, avocado, these forms of fats, fat is wonderful. We need it in our diet. But if we're eating whole buckets of almonds, that could be a very energy dense source and could put us back into a surplus, which might be frustrating if we're trying to lose body fat. So it adds up very quickly. The other macronutrient would be protein. For a gram of protein, we have 4 calories associated, so literally half as many calories as the fats that we just spoke about. And protein has a really wonderful job. It goes in, it can help regulate hormones. It is literally the building blocks of muscle. It feeds us these amino acids, many of which are essential. We cannot produce them ourselves. So we often need extra protein or protein supplementation as athletes. Desk Job Sally does not need the same protein requirements as you, but if you are trying to be very athletic, if you're trying to recover from challenging workouts or build muscle, that tone, if you're trying to help give your hormones a nice little rejuvenating boost, we want to make sure that your protein is appropriate for your goals. So per gram of protein, there are 4 calories associated. And similarly, per gram of carbs, there are 4 calories associated as well. Now, carbs are magical. They are instant energy and we love them. They're great for insulin. They break down into glucose, which is like the only form of energy that our brain can utilize. So as you can see, any sort of elimination diet where we're saying, no, cut all fats out, yeah, that might work in reducing overall energy consumption, but each macronutrient has a very vital purpose that we need as athletes, as humans, to help fuel us and help us function. So we have to kind of zoom out and not just get stuck in the fishbowl effect of looking at, oh, how is this going to affect my physique, but how is this actually going to affect the way my body looks and functions. And so when we look at an individual and we break down their individual macro needs, which again, my job, not yours, don't worry about that, we can then determine not only how their physique will start to adapt and change based on the energy that they're consuming, the amount of energy that they're consuming, but we can also play with how their body is going to then adapt physiologically to the amount of energy, where that energy is coming from, because fats, carbs, and proteins all have different goals, they have different jobs once they are consumed. And so putting the right amount in there can vastly change how a body reacts and functions. 1600 calories is not always 1600 calories. It's where that energy is coming from. So we'll continue to explore this. You're gonna see that it does take a bit of fine tuning. So if your macros feel off right away, if you don't feel quite right, this is something that we play with over time, and your macros and calorie goals will adjust as your body starts to adapt as well. That's the beauty of this, is they should be changing over time. So this is one thing that we'll keep looking at. Another fun thing we want to talk about is the thermic effect of food. Essentially, it takes energy to make energy. So every time that you eat something, it actually causes your body to burn calories to then consume that food. And like I just said, not all food, not all macros are created the same. The thermic effect of fats is different from that of carbs. So being that fats are very energy dense, they take longer for the body to digest, for the body to break down. They take more energy. Protein takes more energy from your body to digest and utilize, unlike carbs, which are kind of like leaves to a flame. They get burnt up very quickly. Whereas you might think of protein as a log on a flame. It's going to take a while to really get rolling, but it's going to be essential for that flame to grow strong and stay strong. And then fats, I like to think of as just branches, right? They're thrown in there. They're very useful. You might think of them as like coal to a fire. They're very slow burning, long burning. They won't burn very hot or very bright, but they're there for longevity. So this is why we want all 3 macronutrients, because they all have a different effect and they all get used and metabolized very differently. And this is something that they didn't teach us in school. I don't know why we didn't learn basic food science like this in school, but we're learning it now for Jeopardy. So this is why I do encourage you to count calories, to track your macros, not to be obsessive, not to put you in a bubble of your worth is only tied to X calories. Either you hit this and you win, or you hit this and you fail. No, no, no. We're looking at data. We're looking at what your body specifically needs. I'm going to ask you to tune into how your body is reacting to the things that we ask it to eat, to the different amounts of macronutrients that we ask it to eat. Like I said, you may be eating 1,600 calories right now, and we may not. We may not cut your calories. We may add calories. We may just change your macros. We may add more protein or more carbs and see how your body feels and reacts based on that. So many dancers get trapped into this world of counting calories and tracking their food, but they don't know what they're looking at. You're going to know exactly what you're looking at and what that means for you. And this is so freeing at the end of the day. You will not be tracking calories forever. You will not be tracking your macros forever, unless you want to. Some people love it. But it is a really nice way to get in touch with how you're really fueling your body and what that food is doing for you and just how essential it is. Because I promise you, after you track your food for a few weeks at a time, you are going to start to notice, oh my gosh, I feel really icky today. You'll look at your tracking log and you'll say, oh my gosh, I haven't had any carbs. I haven't had half of my carbs today. No wonder I have a headache. No wonder I feel sluggish. Or you'll have a really hard workout and the following day you'll be like, oh, I'm so sore. Why am I so sore? You'll look back and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't meet my protein goal. And you'll start to tune into your body, and then we'll be able to transition to the beautiful intuitive side of eating and training. And you'll just be able to recognize these patterns and the amounts of food that you specifically need. But it starts with being very diligent and being very in tune with what we're doing. And that's why we start with tracking. And I know it's scary, and I know if you have a history of playing the game wrong, it can feel very triggering and very upsetting. So I am asking you to trust me, because there is so much freedom on the other side of this. When you know the rules, when you know how to play the game, there is so much freedom just on the other side. And that is our intro, our very quick intro to nutrition science. So we talked about what is a calorie, where does it come from, what do those things do, and why am I asking you to track it all? So I hope this was informative. Please shoot me your questions afterwards.